You can begin, Dr. Bagga.
Hi everyone. I hope you all are doing good in such a pandemic condition. And you all are at home. You all are safe. So actually, we don't have so much of time. So I just want to begin with the slides so that we can finish it quickly. Now, before starting the slide, I want to share few things. See, the participant, maybe the parent whose child is of the age of 2 years, and there will be a participant uh, of a parent whose child is age maybe 12 years or 10 years. So, keeping that in mind, I have tried that to cover the treatment protocol for all the kids in this range. So it's a little bit difficult, but it will give at least a glimpse how to make a goal and how to achieve the goals to the parents. Now, second, the most important thing here is that as you're spending a lot of time with your child, so this is a very good time for you all to see what is positive in your child, what is negative in your child. So it's very important time for you to note down what are the issues, what are the major issues you are looking in your child, and what are the things you can do to achieve it. As I've already said, parents are the best therapists. So you need to make the goals. What I'm going to do it, I'm just going to help you in between how to make the goal for your child, how you can achieve it. So let me start with the slide first. So I'm going to start the slide with what Stephen Shore on 2nd April, Professor Stephen Shore on 2nd April started with. It's a fantastic slide. So I would go for it. So actually, I also want to start with the big threes what Professor Stephen Shore gave. Number one was routine. Second was communication, and third was living skills. You know, after this lockdown, maybe this lockdown is going to get extended. Many of the parents have a question in their mind. The routine of my child has already been lost. What if when he's going to start with the classes again? He'll start showing the behaviors. Maybe it was very difficult to make him settle in the school, and suddenly there has been a lockdown. So there are lots of things which is really going in the mind of the parents. You know what? The most important thing what I want to tell is to maintain the routine. It's very difficult because some of the kids may be going to the ABA centers in the morning, and after they are in the evening they are going for their OT, different classes. Maybe few of the kids are going to the normal school, and then after in the evening they are coming to the centers where they are taking therapies. So it's very hard to maintain that routine, but yes, somewhere as a parent you have to maintain that thing where you have to maintain the routine of your child. So the lucky part, the good part is that both the parents are in fact at home, so you can divide the goals in between. Now, while keeping your child in routine, you should be very clear what is your child doing in the school, what is your child doing in ABA, what is the child doing in OT. So you need to know the goals of each and every aspect where your child is going. So maybe you can discuss with your therapy, you can discuss with teachers, know what they were doing, what were their goals, so that you can just accommodate that in the routine. So, and the second part, as I want to share, is the communication. Now, this is not the second, this is also the primary. Communicate always you are doing. It's basically to improve the communication. That's a primary goal of each and every child of TSC category, isn't it? So, now, if I start with the communication, I already have discussed with you that maybe the age range of the parents is from 2 years to the 12 years of their child. So maybe the communication for a child is the imitation. Maybe the communication level of the child is echolalia. So maybe the goals of the parents is to reduce the echolalia, or maybe to improve the comprehension of your child. So again, depending upon the level of the child, the goals of the communication will be the same. Now, living skills. Now, this is the most important part of occupational therapy. So, if you want to talk about the occupational therapy, we basically work around the living skills. That means how to make a child independent. Independent in the daily living skills, independent in hygienic level, independent in feeding skills, dressing skills, everything. So this be my PPT is actually going to cover a lot of these three bigs by Professor Stephen Shaw. So let me begin and change the slide. Now, how to make the goals for your child? That's a big question for you. So, according to my perspective, according to the occupational therapist perspective, I keep two things in the mind. So I want you to be a therapist for your child. Make the goal which is practically possible for your child to achieve. Just know what is the level of the child, what is exactly at the level your child is, and what should be the next step to achieve the goals. Don't make so big goals. Okay, we have a month in our hand or 21 days in our hand. So let me achieve this. Practically, it will not be possible for you. So, if you want to achieve the independence, your goal should be like at the level of the child. And second most important thing, as an therapist and as a caregiver and parents, you need to keep in your mind is skill learning. What does this mean? This means if you are preparing any goal for your child, keep this in mind. It should be purposeful. It should be functional. If you are making any goal which is having no use, so maybe you are wasting your child. What you are going to do, you are going to train your child into certain skill, certain activity, but maybe that is not been turning into the skills. So the term skill, what does the term skill means here? The skill means the motor skills, which comprises of your fine motors, which comprises of your gross motor skills, the handwriting, visual perception, living skills, all the skills I'm talking about, the practical independent skills. So next, again, I'm going to extend a little bit more how to plan an occupational therapy goal for your child. There are three things. First, depending upon the age, what happens, because I have a clinic in Rajouri Garden and I do a lot of assessment and a parent counseling. So what I feel, actually parents really don't know at what age, what is a skill the child needs to learn. So because of this, maybe a 3-year-old child just needs to scribble. And I've seen parents and the other therapists, they start making a child writing the alphabets. Are you getting my point? So if you are making a goal for your child, it should be depend upon the age of the child. I'm going to help you in letting you know how and at what age the kids are doing what activities. But later on, I'll just let you know about it. Second is the level of your child. Actually, level of the child needs to be first, because maybe a child is of a 5-year of age, but the level is of 2 and a 2.5-year-old child, or maybe a 3-year-old child. So the goal which you're going to make needs to be at the level of the child. It shouldn't be, okay, my child is 5 years of an age. Let me see what the 5-year-old kid can do. I'm going to make that goal and let my child achieve those. Third, and the most important thing, now there is a category of the parents who are very clear that these are the activities by which my child needs to do. These are the activities at this level he needs to achieve. But the problem comes that they see one goal as a whole. What I mean to say is, supposedly, if the goal of the parent is that the child should be able to hold the spoon independently and then put it in his mouth, and he should be able to eat independently. So you need to break the task. You need to see first whether the child is able to hold the spoon properly, whether he is giving a good grip or not. Because if the child is not having a good grip in his hand, and your goal is that you want to put a stuff in his mouth, practically I think it's not possible. So break the target. The first target needs to be okay. He needs to hold the spoon properly. When he's taking the spoon towards his mouth, it shouldn't spill. And whenever he's putting in his mouth, the movement of the arm should be proper. So my first goal will be obviously the grip should be proper while holding the spoon. And the distance I'm covering, he should be able to cover properly without spilling it. So my final goal is that my child should be able to feed himself independently. But I have broken the task. Like first he needs to hold the spoon, then he needs to cover the distance without spilling, and then he needs to put it in his mouth. So if you have made any goal as a parent, break that goal, make it easier, and then keep on shifting to the next level of the goals. Okay. So again, I just want to revise it. How to plan an occupational therapy goal really depends upon three things. One, on the age of the child, but primarily it's on the level of the child. And if you have made a goal, please do the task analysis properly. Now, the thing is, parents, maybe because they are at home, they are observing their child quite closely. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to help them a little bit in showing a very common issues which an ASD category kids show. And then you can see if your child is showing those sort of an issues. And then we will discuss about how to make a goal regarding the specific issues. So here, the common issues you can observe in your child is, now again I'm going to repeat one thing. I am keeping in my mind there is a parent of 2-year-old child and there is a parent of 12-year-old child. So maybe all issues are not fitting to every child. There is only one or two issues you are looking at here. So just all you need to do is you just need to concentrate on the issue which you think is primarily hindering your child's development. So let me start again. Poor name response, poor imitation, and hyperactivity. Now, if a child basically is of a 2 years of age or a 3 years of age, the concern of the parents may be that my child is not responding to the name. He is not even looking at me. He's not even observing the environment. He's too hyper. He's not ready to sit. So these are the basic common issues which the parent of these particular age of 2 and 3 years come to me for the assessment. The other parents may be more worried about the sensory issues. Like, see, sensory integration therapy is one of the therapies which an occupational therapist follow. So we also see if the child is having any sensory issues in or not. I think many of the parents are now aware of the sensory issues and sensory integration therapy. So I really don't want to spend a lot of time in explaining you these things. But let me come back to my second point, which is sensory issues like tactile defensiveness or stimming. There is a category of parents who says that my child is the whole day is spending time in moving something, spinning something, or maybe he's spinning around something. He needs something in his hands every time, or he really don't want to touch anything. So where the parents feel that there is something wrong, how could I turn my kid? How can I stop the stimming of my kid so that let him come back to day-to-day living, let him come back to my world. Okay, and again, there will be a category of the parents which will be focusing more on the muscle tone. They may be observing that the muscle tone of the child is really very weak. The kid seems to be very lethargic. The muscles and joints are very fluffy. When you touch the muscle, you can softness in it. So that is one of the things where the parents are more concerned about the postural tone, about the muscle tone, the power of the muscles. And again, there will be a category of parents who are concerned more about the body awareness. Like my child is having a very good muscle tone, he is having a very good sitting tolerance. But when I'm giving him some command, when I really want to integrate, when I really want to get socialize with him, he's avoiding me. Why is not doing it? When I'm calling his name, I know he can respond to it, but he's not responding to me. Where is the awareness? So that may be a question of view of the parents. And then where the parents may be thinking, because there's a lot of time and fathers are really interested in doing a lot of ball activities and play activities with their kids, and they can observe that maybe the ball control, the process skills, the physical play of their child is not good. The child is not able to catch the ball, the child is not able to throw the balls. So they are more concerned, okay, let me improve the cross motor skills of my child. Let me improve the fine motors. Fine motor skills are basically the skills which we do with our fingers, like writing and eating and dressing up. These are all fine motor skills which we do. Again, one of the category of the parents could be to make their child independent in living skills. Again, every parent has their different goals. There is a parent who comes to me for the assessment and they say, my primary goal is that my child needs to sit. And the other category of the parent says that, okay, my first primary goal is my child needs to tell me if he wants to go to the washroom. So, depending upon your goals, and some of the parents who are working 24/7 with the kids, they can actually work in all the aspects which I am discussing here. So, in the living skills, it can be maybe making a child susu trained, potty trained. Maybe you want to make him learn face wash, toothbrushing, dressing, undressing, keeping his personal hygiene. And as it is a pandemic condition, definitely you maybe try that the child should be able to keep himself as hygienic as he can using the sanitizer and different things. Okay. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take each and every issues which you can see in your screen, and then let's see how can we make the goals for it. Okay. So the first is poor name response, poor imitation, hyperactivity, poor eye contact. So here, how to resolve the issues? Issues like name response is poor, imitations are poor, the child is really hyperactive, he's not giving an eye contact, he's not giving, he's not following any command. So now, you know what, again, I'm not using any big terms. I'm not going to use any medical terms in it, because what I'm believing is that this webinar is more for the parents and for, so professionally, maybe using big terms, medical terms will be good, but as a parent, it's better to keep the things easy. So when I see a child, when a child is coming to me and I have to take the first session, he is in the first session to me. So what I feel, what I see in the kid is, so there may be two categories of kids, where a child who is really very hyper, and if you try to make him sit, he may become aggressive, he can show you meltdowns, and he actually don't want to sit. So in that case, it really becomes very difficult for the parents, and that's what the parents complain. See, sir, this is my primary concern. Let him sit at least for 5 minutes. He's not even sitting. We are not able to engage him to make him sit. And there is a category of second category where the parents come and say, okay, sir, with the practice, we have made a child sit at one place, maybe for 5 to 10 minutes. But after that, he again starts running. But after that, actually, we become very confused how to involve him into activities and make his sitting tolerance better. So again, I'm going to repeat the two categories. One, the where the child is actually not sitting at all, and it's really difficult for the parents to make them sit. And the second category, where the parents are saying, okay, now we have been trained, now we are able to make my child sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but what to do with him, how to involve him, so that we can really expand that time to at least half an hour or 45 minutes. Okay, so what occupational strategies you can use to achieve it? Either if I'm talking about the first category or the second category, isn't it? Goal is going to be the child should be able to learn the imitations. There should be a good in-seat behavior. Be a good eye contact. The child should be able to engage himself into some purposeful activities. So, how to achieve it? Let me give you an example. I'm going to share my experience with you, how we work with the kids, and that's what I want the parents to do at home. So in a category one where the child is not sitting, he is running around. So even Professor Stephen Shore also gave this example where if a child is not sitting, there is no problem. You need to move with the child. He is running, you also run. If he is flapping, you also start flapping with him. Until and unless a time where he starts observing you, like what is happening, why this man is doing the same thing what I'm doing. That is the point where you can get the attention of your child. I'm talking about a little bit of a sunrise program. A sunrise program is a program which is basically depending upon where you need to imitate the child until and unless the child starts imitating you. So when a child will see you, he will observe you, why this man is doing the same thing I am doing. So that contact with you, even for 2 seconds or 3 seconds or 5 seconds, is enough for you to gain his um, attention. So moment he gives you an eye contact, make a lot of facial expressions, surprises, peekaboos, and just try to extend his attention towards you. This will not happen in a day. This will not happen in an hour. And so you may need to work with your child with hours and hours to get a little bit of an attention. But surely these strategies work. So the basic principle would be imitate the child, get the attention of the child, and then make him try to imitate you. So when what happens is basically when a child is looking at me and I'm making a lot of faces and so if I do something, maybe he also tries to do something. So you can see that imitations may be coming. So at that point, do a lot of reinforcement. Maybe now your ABA techniques can work with you. There's a lot of reinforcement you can give it to your child, a lot of sensory stimulations you can give it to your child, and then slowly make him sit and engage him into different activities. I know it's very easy to say, but yes, it's a little bit difficult to follow. So so these are the things what I want to say. This was a category where the kid is really not sitting. On the other hand, the parent says that okay, my child is sitting. Now what should I do to engage him? Or what should I do to improve his in-seat behaviors? So what I would suggest to those parents is to go for a lot of passive therapies. Go for a lot of sensory explorations. Maybe use different sensory toys, light toys, discriminative toys, use a lot of brushing techniques, joint compression. Many of the kids love vibration. Many of the kids love cuddling. So you can try a lot of sensory activities, sensory stimulations to your child, which comes under the category of passive therapy. I'm going to discuss this passive therapy a little bit in detail, maybe later on. But right now, let's just keep in this mind that this is also very effective therapy to make your child sit and to engage him into the activities. Now, um, so what are the other strategies you can use? Maybe that strategy of imitating, getting the imitations, getting the attention is not working because every child responds to different stimulus um, in a different way. So other strategies which you can use is, like I have already said, imitate the child, get the attention, gradually make and learn imitation. So this is what I've already discussed. There are a lot of sensory strategies. We have seen if we start giving a little bit of a rhythmic movement to the kids and suddenly they are calm and composed. And if we try to give them a lot of brushing, so they are very interested in what's happening to which part of their body. So the sensory strategies where you can do a lot of rhythmic swings, lot of gym balls, because many of the parents now have a little bit of an OT equipment at home. Uh, Gym ball is one of the balls. It's a physio ball. It's a big ball. So maybe a little bit of a bouncing on the ball, maybe a little bit of using the swings to calm him down. And I'm really thinking in my mind that this is a pandemic situation. What if the parents is not having a swings? What if the parents is not having a gym ball? How could they give sensory stimulations to their child? So what you can do is you can make the child sit on the lap on a chair, try to hug a little bit, and you can move and make your child move rhythmically. So maybe this strategy works for your child and he really loves those things. So you can use a lot of sensory strategies, use a lot of tactile, maybe brushing, rubbing the skin, using the vibrators will also work. Again, as I've discussed with you, while doing these sensory strategies, while if you feel your child is really settled down a little bit, what to get his attention? So do a lot of facial expressions, give him surprise face, give him a peekaboo face to get attention in between. So this was the thing. Let me now, before going to the passive therapy, I just want to revise it because maybe it's too much for the parents. So we started with two categories of kids where they really don't want to sit, and there is a category where they are sitting, but what to do with them. Our goals are very common: imitations, eye contact, name responses, and different things. Strategies which we are using is maybe imitate a child, get the attention, and then make them learn imitations. Use the sensory strategies that may work for your child. Lot of facial expressions, lot of curdling sort of a thing, which will actually make your child involve with you a lot. Now, I have used the term passive therapy, and so talking about the sensory treatment, um, I'm going to use two terms: passive and active therapies. There is a reason why I have put this slide. The reason is that what I'm expecting, there are a lot of professionals who are attending this internationally, and there is a category of a therapist, specifically in the Western culture, who believe that there is no use of giving a passive therapy. Active therapy is the main therapy. So if a therapist is giving a passive therapy, he is actually wasting the time of the child. And on the other hand, there is a category of a therapist who believe we need to start the therapies with the passive and gradually use the active therapies. So, what is active therapy? What is passive therapy? So, I'll try to make you understand something. Mm, okay, let me start with the passive therapies first before I go to the active therapies. See, as you can see in the screen, therapists' participation is more than the child. What does this mean? This means, like, while doing the therapies, the therapist is doing all the therapies to the child. The child is not involved in certain activities. There is a very famous therapies where we say the Wilbarger's brushing protocol. So we have a set of activities where we do brushing. We go for joint compression, we go for vibration, we go for deep massage, spinal massage, we go for a lot of compressions. So those categories is basically comes under the passive therapy. Okay, and the active therapy is where the child participates more than what the therapist do. In fact, the therapist is just a prompter. So if I'm talking about the active therapist, it involves a lot of movements where a child is moving, he's balancing, he is he is maybe doing some activities. So that comes under active therapies. Okay, so the active therapy, in fact, I also believe are the best therapies. Why? Because if you are participating yourself, that's the best time, that's the best opportunity you are giving to your brain to work. So the active therapy works more on a neuromuscular development. Definitely it works, and it is the primary therapy, and I'm a big admirer of active therapy. On the other hand, the passive therapies usually helps the therapist, the caregivers, the parents to build a rapport with their child. Supposedly, if a child loves brushing, so you can make him sit at one place, you can do brushing, and with that brushing, you are singing some poem which he is loving, and with that poem, he is looking at you. So you get an opportunity to build a rapport with your child. So active therapy is the primary therapy, but the passive therapy is also somewhere important to build a rapport with your child. Now, why I am emphasizing more on the passive therapies, because it's a pandemic situation, everything is closed, you might not have a bill, you might not have a gym ball, so you might not have a therapist to go to. You might not have a balanced board. So passive therapies would work more for your child. But I'm also going to give you a few examples of very good active therapies which you can do at home with the home method. So moving forward, now again, the, there is a third category of the parents who says, my child is hyperactive, but only when he is free. If I make him do something, if I'm making him to sit on the table, and if I'm making him to do a lot of activities, he can sit there for hours and hours. But the moment I leave him, he really starts running around here and there. So he's not able to sit idly. He's not able to sit at least idly for 5 to 10 minutes. What's happening there? Why is this happening? The child, when you're making a child sit on the table chair, he is able to sit for hours and hours. But the moment you are leaving him, you see that he is very hyper. Well, it's my view, which I want to share it with you. What I feel, this happens only with those kids where the therapist or the parents focus more on the skill training. They are more interested in involving kids into gross motor, sensory, and the fine motor skills. They forget one thing, the play part, which is really very, very important, because the play gives me an opportunity to involve in, as an individual, involve into certain activities purposefully or maybe constructively, I should say. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I actually observe her a lot. Sometimes there is a moment where I want my child to be alone. I'm tired, I want him, okay, you go and play, I really am very tired. And in fact, at the same time, my wife says the same thing, okay, I'm also very tired, go, you can play. So at that time, what I see, my daughter is actually able to involve herself into some activities. Maybe she's having a doll, she starts playing with that doll. She imagines something and she starts playing with it. And that is because she has learned the play, which is actually missing with the ASD kids. So I would suggest, if you are spending a lot of time with your child, making him sit on the table, then take out a little bit of a time and try to make him play. What does this mean? What sort of a play I'm talking about? So forget about this terms pretend play, symbolic play. What are the common plays we do in our Indian tradition? Like if we have a doll. So you can tell your child, okay, let's undress the doll, let's dress the doll, let us make him bath, bake her bath today. If you have a kitchen set, make a tea for me, make a coffee for Papa, whatever the thing is. So I would suggest and I would say to you, the child who is having a good setting tolerance when you are doing an activity, but when he is free, he is really hyper. This may be because of the lack of the play. So this time, if you are giving, your focus needs to make your child do a lot of pretend play, lot of, if you have a kitchen set, a doll set, a doctor set, try to involve him into with these activities. Okay. Second thing, what I feel is, okay, play is a very important aspect, but second aspect is the independent skills. When the child is sitting on the table and he is doing the work for hours and hours, what happens? We are sitting with him or her. So that, your thing where you are sitting with your child is somewhere reducing the confidence of your child, because whenever he is doing something wrong, you are prompting him, okay, this is not the way of doing it, do it in this way, do it in that way. So what happens? Unintentionally, the child really becomes dependent on us. So what he will do, either while writing, he will keep on looking us to get our confidence whether I'm doing the things right or wrong, or he'll start in between talking to the parents or to seek an attention with the parents or the therapist. This is happening because the confidence of your child is very less. He can do something which my child is doing for 2 years and he's mastered it. But whenever you are not sitting with him, he is not doing that thing. This is happening because you haven't made your child learn the independence. So now the goal of the parent should also be independent. Make your child learn independent skills. So I can give you a little bit of an idea how you can do it. So if you're going to make your child learn the independent skills, start with the activities which he has already mastered. Maybe there are certain wooden pegs, maybe there is a beading, certain fine motor activities. So start with it. So tell him, I'm just coming, finish it. Maybe what happens when you are out of sight, the child starts stimming with those things. So you can see. So what you can do initially, you can say, okay, this is a peg, finish it. I'm just moving a distance from you, maybe a distance of a meter or two from you, finish it of your own. Or what you can do is maybe you're observing him, but you are just pretending that you are not looking at him and just see if he is doing the work independently or not. To the level where you have given the thing to a child and you are telling him, okay, I'm coming in 5 minutes and finish this activity. Again, task analysis is the most important thing before doing anything with your child. So if the sitting tolerance is fine, but when he is idle, he is not able to sit, maybe there are two things which is happening is the lack of play, and secondly the lack of independent skills. The third thing, actually what I have missed it here, is that he's having a lot of sensory issues. Maybe those sensory issues, he's not regulated when he is free. So that is one of the reasons why he is not sitting. But I really don't want to put that sensory terms a lot in this webinar, because we don't have so much of time, and I really don't want to confuse the parents. So let's move forward. Other category of the parents, and here the parents are more concerned with the muscle tone. Now, you know what, in ASD category, this is a very common feature which we see. So I think the muscle tone will be the goal of many parents here to improve the muscle tone. So let me discuss the common issues first before we let me see the time. What's the time right now? Okay, so before we move forward, what are the common issues you can see if your child is having a poor muscle tone? So child is avoiding doing a lot of any physical effort. So you can see, even if you are telling him to hold a glass of water and drink, he's holding it with a very loose grip. Or maybe you feel that he's hyperactive when he's free, but the moment you are giving him some activity to do, he becomes very lethargic. Or when you are touching him, you can feel the softness in the joint, softness in the muscles. And fourth, even a little bit of a physical effort is actually tiring them a lot. So they have a very poor endurance. So these may be the few features you may be observing in your child. So poor muscle tone, if the parents have this in their mind, I have to improve the muscle tone of my child. So how we can do it? Try to do a lot of proprioceptive activities. I'm sorry, I already told you I'm not going to use the big medical terms here, but still, I would rather say try to do a lot of heavy work with your child, do a lot of physical exercises with your child. Right, this is a pandemic situation. How we can do the physical activities with my child in home. So I have given a little bit of an example here, and there are a lot of examples which you can find from the internet. So you can go through it. So dragging chairs, maybe drag a chair from one room to the other. And if you feel it's very easy for your child to drag a chair, you can put some heavy thing on the chair and then tell him to drag. You know what? I really want to. I'm not sharing it with you, but I just want to discuss one thing. There was a parent. What she did, they had a revolving chair at their home, and when she found that it's very easy for his child to drag the chair, what she did, she sat on the chair and then told her um, child that, okay, I need to go to the kitchen to put this glass. Can you help me? And then the child was dragging the mother, dragging the chair. So look at the fun play and look at the creativity of the parents. So maybe I'm writing a very simple terms. You can modify according to the level of the child, and it's about your creativity. OT is all about how you create the activities for the kids. So, dragging one of the, if you have stairs at home, climbing stairs, holding a school bag, or maybe mother's handbag. And if this is also easy, put something heavy on the school bag. Let him hang the school bag and climb up and down to and see whether he's doing a physical efforts or not. There are a lot of walks, like we say it as an animal walk. So wheelbarrow walk, commando walk, different animal walks, lot of pushing and pulling heavy objects, and you can make few heavy obstacles for them. So there are a lot of proprioceptive activities which you can do. Maybe I can share if I have a time, which I think we don't have so much of time, but if I'll have a time, then I'll try to share a few slides with you. What is the key point? The key point here is whatever activity you are doing it with your child, the child needs to be motivated. Don't make it a burden for your child first. Second, try to make it a fun play. Let make a story out of something. Like I have shared with you that mother's thing where she was sitting and she wanted that the child should take her to the kitchen, to the washroom, something like that. So you can, it's your creativity, how you're going to create that thing. So the child needs to be motivated and it needs to be a fun play for the kids. Now, body awareness. Usually, this postural tone, the slide of this poor muscle tone is directly proportional to the body awareness. So it is very commonly seen if a child is having a poor postural tone, will obviously have a very poor body awareness. But I have segregated two parts to make it understand in more easier way. Because what we as a therapist do, we try to prepare an activity where there should be a good body control, where the child should have a good body awareness, where there should be a lot of tactile stimulations involved in it. But here I am segregating to make the parents understand it in a very easy way. So here, specifically here, the body awareness means the vestibular aspect. Again, forget about the term. Here, with the body awareness, I want to say more of a balancing thing. So in first part, you are working on the muscle tone, where you're doing a lot of heavy exercises. And the second pair, where I'm talking about the body awareness, I'm talking about the balancing exercises more, where the child needs to balance. So there are two pictures you can see where the child is sitting on the gym ball and doing a sort of a balancing exercises, and on the other there are a lot of different sizes of mats where the child is walking. So this is going to give you a few what you say glimpse of what you can do with your child. And so I have written something like walking on the cushions on sofa seats. So what you can do is that bring all the sofa cushions on the floor, keep it on the floor, and tell him to walk on this. And if this is easy for him, give him some heavy tray, or give him a tray filled with a glass of water, and tell him, okay, you need to walk on the sofa cushion holding a tray. So you can work more on the body awareness of the child. There are a lot of activities which you can do on the physio ball, on the hop ball. One of the simple thing is that make him do the activities, specifically the tabletop activities on the gym ball. So instead of giving him the chair, tell the child to sit on the ball. So automatically when he's going to sit on the ball, as you can see on the picture also, the posture of the body is going to be better and the awareness will be much better. So these small strategies you can apply at home. Then we have jumping activities. Maybe you can make him jump on the floor, maybe jumping from the height to the floor and from floor to the heights. So you can do a lot of jumping exercises with him to improve the body awareness of the child. Now let's move to the category of the parents who are more interested in developing the gross motor skills. So what does gross motor skill means? Gross motor skill basically means the activities which involves your big muscles, right? The bigger muscles of your body. So those are the gross motor skill activities. So what I have done, I have put a little bit of a gross motor skills like a ball control. Very easy activity. Every house have a ball. So what you can do, catch going with your common problems which parents actually experience actually see is that the child is not able to stand at one place, isn't it? So he's running around whenever you are trying to play a ball activity with him. And the second common thing which parents actually observe is that the child is catching, but he's turning his face or he's closing his eyes, isn't it? So if you're working on a ball control, I would suggest you don't start with an open space. If you feel your child is not under the control and you want to do the ball activities, take any corner, take any corner of the house. Maybe you can stand 1 feet apart, not more than that, and then try to play with the balls with him. And the moment you have succeeded in it, move a little bit back, make your child sit on these corners so that there is no much escape. And gradually, you can modify the activities. So, again, range of the age from 2 years to 12 years. So these are the list you need to see where your child actually fits there. So if your child is not having at least a ball control, start with a very small space to make your child learn ball control. Start with very simple activities, catching, target throw, kicking, racket hitting. You need to have a very light racket which he can easily hold. Then gradually increase the level. How? Little bit of an example, a home activity. Put a ball in the socks, tie up with a thread and just fix it on the fan. So let him hit the moving ball, the hanging ball. This will improve the eye-hand coordination of the child. The visual tracking will develop, stability will develop, and you are teaching a very purposeful racket hitting skill to your child. Similarly, kicking a ball. If a child is able to kick the ball, make it a difficult activity. Roll the ball towards the kid and tell him to, when the ball is coming near to him, then he needs to kick. So maybe that depth perception and the distance judgment should come. Picking up the moving ball. Roll the ball towards your child. When the ball is coming to him, he needs to pick and drop it something. There's a very simple games like bowling game, the plastic bottles you have. Supposedly, if you don't have a plastic bottles, take something very light which you can get it. Maybe the glasses, the plastic glasses at home would work. Tell him to do a lot of bowling games, target hitting, and so there are a lot of gross motor activities, a lot of jumping exercises you can do with your kids. So create your own activities, I would suggest. Again, the key point here is motivation and the fun play. So let's move forward. Now, again, now there are lots of parents who want their fine motor to get improved, their child. So they are focusing more that in this lockdown, I'm going to improve the handwriting of my child. I'm going to improve the feeding skills of my child. So let me discuss few of the problems which you can see in your child. The most common problem the parents see, if I'm talking about the fine motor, is the poor grip. They say the child is not holding anything with a tight grip. He's holding with a very light grip. So why is this happening? Let us do one test together. I hope you all are having a pen or a pencil with you right now. So what you need to do is, or anything, if you have a glass with near you, or if you have your mobile phone also, so just try to grasp it very tightly on your hands. Grasp it very tightly. So what will you observe is when you are grasping the thing very tightly on your hands, there is a tension on your shoulder also. I think you all can feel if you will do it. So just grasp it and you will see there is a tension in your shoulders. So, and now just hold the same thing in a very loose grip and you will see there is no tension on your elbows and on your shoulders. Okay. So this means if you are working on the pressure, on the fine motor activities, it's very important to work on the shoulders first. So before doing fine motor activities, work a lot on the shoulder strengthening. Okay, so here what I have written, it has been seen a poor body muscle tone also results. So if you have a poor body muscle tone, as we have already discussed, that is one of the reasons that that your child is having a poor grip. So you are working on the muscle tone of your child, you are working on the awareness of a child. Now work on, I'm sorry, on the fine motors, you will get very good results. So again, in fine motors, focus more on the shoulders. So a lot of strengthening exercises. and with a lot of finger strengthening exercises. Now, let me give you a little bit of an activities, the home activities you can do to improve the shoulder exercises. See, one of the ways of improving your shoulder exercise, shoulder strengthening is if your elbow is coming above the shoulder level. So this is one of the things. So tell your child to pick something and put it on top of the shelf. So if you are involving your child into kitchen activities, so you can tell him hold the jar, pick it up and put it on the upper shelf. So very simple activity which is very good for the shoulders as well as for the gripping. Similarly, if you have a heavy school bag, tell him, okay, you need to put a school bag on the kitchen slab or any heavy things on the kitchen slab. Remember, the elbow is coming above the shoulder level. So that will strengthen the shoulders. Other thing is, if a child is holding any heavy object with both the hands, usually this is a very major problem. They are not able to hold the things um, with both the hands in the center of their body. So make them to hold the things in the center of their body with both the hands and let them walk. So this is very important shoulder strengthening exercises which you can do with your children. And one of the activities which I would suggest, a lot of pushing, pulling, dragging exercises, and maybe like what we have discussed in the gross motor skills, where the child is hitting the hanging ball. So if this activity is easier for him, then maybe you can put a weight cuff on your child's hand, make it more difficult for him, and let him hit the balls. And obviously, try to do with both the hands. Usually, parents do is that they do a lot of things on the dominant hand and they forget about the non-dominant hand. So all the activities needs to be done with both the hands. Okay, so these were the few strategies. Now there's a picture. You can see the pictures of it here, where the child is holding the ball against the wall. Look at the pushing and pulling activities they are doing. Look at the girl with a pink dress, where she is doing, I think it's a crab walk which she is doing, and the child who is dragging himself under that bed sheet. So look at very simple home activities which you can try to do. So these are the shoulder strengthening exercises which you can do. Remember, we are doing fine motors, but shoulder is the most important for us. Then a list of finer activities, the activities which a child can do with the fingers are transfer water from bottle to glass, cut the straw to make necklace, pick up small object with tongs, squeeze the Play-Doh through a lemon press, use the punchers, the hole punchers, thread a pasta in straw, wrap rubber bands around some objects, use medicine dropper, nasal droppers, peel masking tape. So fix a tape on the table and tell him to peel that. Fix the cloth pins. Now these are the things which is available in every house, isn't it? So you can make a fine motor goals accordingly. Now this aspect, this is, I think this is the last one. I'm not going to share much more because we are already running out of time. This is bilateral activities. So what do you mean by bilateral? Bilateral means an activity where both sides of your body is working together. See, this is very important. Very important if your goal is to work on the postural tone. This is very important if your goal is to work on the awareness, and very important if your goal is to work on the fine motor activities as well. So what does this mean? Working with both hands together. Okay. So what will this do? This will improve the attention, because these activities, the bilateral activities, you will get an excellent results in attention. You will get a very good results on posture, and you will see the child is really balancing himself a lot. So let me talk a little bit about the bilateral activities. There are three types of bilateral activities. Symmetric activities, like if you're catching some ball. So this is bilateral, where the left side and right side both needs to come together, isn't it? So this is a symmetric activity. If you're throwing a ball, these are the symmetric activities where both the sides are working with the same pace, with the same speed. And reciprocal bilateral movements basically means an alternate movement. So if you're climbing a rope, or if you are climbing a ladder, so what you are doing, basically left hand is working with the right hand, right. These are the reciprocal movements which you are doing. The same movement happens with our legs also. So these are the bilateral movement, but are reciprocal movements. And the third is dominant hand and supporting hand. Let me give you an example of it. Like if you are doing some work on a sheet of a paper. So what you are doing is you are writing with a dominant hand, but your supporting hand is on the sheet so that it shouldn't move. So these are the bilateral activities. So if you're going to ask me about few bilateral home activities, so these are, so bilateral gross motor, that means a bilateral coordination exercises on a grosser levels, on the big muscles, jumping and skipping, putting balls in basket ring, in fact, catching the ball, throwing the basketball, hitting the drums, pushing and pulling exercises, and brain gym exercises. I don't know whether I have a time to discuss with you the brain gym or not. Now, there are a few fine motor activities also. Remember, bilateral fine motor activities, tying shoelace, threading a beads. Now, I just want to tell something to the parents here. If you're going for this fine motor activities, remember one thing, not to use the table. Make your child sit at the back, and if he's doing a beading, let him do it in this way, where there is no support on the table. So, like a simple example, if you are giving something him to feed, give the bowl in his hand and spoon instead of giving him on the table. Let him sit on the chair, hold the bowl, and feed himself. Look at very simple bilateral activity for your child. So cutting the scissors, cutting with scissors. So instead of using the table support, make your child sit at the back and then cut without the table support. Doing buttoning, coloring the sheet. So what you can do is tell him to stand on the wall and then let him scribble. So that one hand will support the sheet, then the other hand is coloring. Using a ruler to draw a line. Okay, so these are few bilateral exercises which you can do at home. And now, I think brain gym, I should skip this thing. It's enough. I think, Sakhi, if you're listening to me, we are over. Yeah, we are over with it.
Just one second.
Thank you, all of you, for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bagga. I mean, considering your extremely busy schedule that you made time to do this webinar for us, we're extremely grateful. We have two questions for you, and in fact, one does circle around brain gym. We have an anonymous question about what are your thoughts on brain gym, because there are many mixed opinions about it out there.
So can I take a little bit of a time in
Sure, please.
brain gym?
Please.
Okay. Okay. Brain gym exercises. I'm a big admirer of these exercises. See, why I have discussed fine motors, and then after fine motors, I discussed the bilateral, and after bilateral, I'm discussing the brain gym exercises. The reason is these brain gym exercises are the set of exercises which actually what happens in the brain gym exercises is that my left side needs to go towards my right side and my right needs to go towards my left side. Why? What neurologically happens, we have two hemispheres. One is left hemisphere, one is right hemisphere. And if we talk about coordination, coordination is not only the coordination between the body is going to coordinate only if two hemispheres are talking to each other in a coordinated way. So how to make them work together is when my right side, my right brain is talking to the left brain and my left brain is talking to the right brain. How it's going to happen? If my right side going towards my left side, if my left side is going towards my right side. So, so there are certain set of exercises. The 20, I'm going to share a little bit. I don't know how much clear this picture is, but let me give you an example. You can start with very simple exercises like tell your child to touch the left shoulder with the right hand, touch the right shoulder with the left hand, maybe touching the right knee with the left hand, left knee with the right hand, to the simple activities where you can go for, I don't know, the basic exercises where you can touch your alternate feet. So these are the things. So for the brain gym exercises is the exchange of the hemisphere activities. So right needs to go towards the left, left needs to go towards the right. You can prepare your own activities also. And one of the major thing which comes under brain gym is the sleeping aid. So if there is a center point and I am moving my hand like this, so what I'm doing basically, I'm going towards my left side to my right side, left side needs to be done with both the hands. So these are the simple exercises like sleeping aid, infinity walk. And so you can see few, if you can see it, you can see few of the activities where the kids are doing. So look at the cross call sit-ups and look at the standing cross calls. So lazy eight is there. So these are the alternate things which you can do. There are a lot of, there are sets of 26 exercises, and these exercises are easily available in the website. You can see and you can make your child do it. Again, do the task analysis. Maybe your child is not able to do it in one manner. Maybe he's having a poor imitation. So if he knows the colors, put a red color on his palm, put a red color on his shoulder, and tell him to touch red with red, green with green, something like that. So do the task analysis and go for a lot of range and exercises. Thank you all of you for listening to me, and I'll say Sakhi to take over now. Sakhi, are you there?
Oh, yeah, hi, sorry. So we have time for one question. This is Mugdha Kalra's question. She says, how to teach children to maintain social distance during this pandemic? Her child is extremely affectionate and tends to hug people. So how do you teach the child not to do so?
I think social stories would help her a lot. If she does a lot of, I don't know what is the intellectual level of the child, but there are two things which you need to see. If there is a sensory perspective where he really needs a lot of proprioception, and that's the reason he's coming towards his only to his parents to seek that pressure, then I would say go for a lot of proprioceptive exercises or physical exercises. But if this is a behavior which he's showing as this social affectionate, I would suggest social stories would work a lot with that child. And maybe it's a right time. Maybe this pretend play thing, if they can play with the child where parents, mother, father, maybe the sibling as well as the child is sitting, and let them do something to teach him. So again, depending upon the intellectual level, but it's a very good question. I would go for social stories more.
Okay. We have just one last question, which is Deepa Banerjee's question. She says, her child is extremely violent, so how to motivate the child so that he cooperates during the session?
Extremely violent.
Extremely violent.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Ma'am, I would suggest if he is violent, what you need to do is, again, I have already discussed this. Maybe the sensory strategies would work. Start with lot of sensory stimulations if you can give it to your child. Maybe a reinforcement technique like the way ABA uses. If he likes something, so let him do something and you can reinforce him. So if as an occupational therapist, where we would use a lot of sensory stimulation, so try to give him sort of a brushing and try to do a massage on the hands if it's possible, or maybe give him a little bit of a rhythmic movement and see how he responds to those activities. So again, it's very hard to answer like this, but I would suggest maybe the sensory strategies would work for that child. Try this, and if it works.
Got it. We don't have enough time to take the other questions, but Dr. Bagga on his slide, Dr. Bagga, if you can just change the slide to where you have your email address written. I will request everyone with your questions, please email Dr. Bagga, contact him. I'm also leaving details about Therapy for Ability, their Facebook page. Do go look and see the work that they do and get in touch with them. We have a lot of webinars also coming up in IIC. We have Mary Barwa's webinar this Friday and other webinars with Professor Stephen Shore and Joanne Lara. I request you all to look at our Facebook pages and YouTube pages. Thank you so much again, Dr. Bagga, for being here with us. And thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.